What is up, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Spoilers Only. Today, we have a special guest joining us here to help us break down some of the worst reviewed films on Rotten Tomatoes. Please welcome Nick Major.
Woo! Hi.
Charlie Puth, apparently, but okay.
Hello.
No, it is not Charlie Puth. My Skype name says that right now because I am weird. It is a long story, but it is me, Nick Major, here to talk about terrible movies today.
So, just to preface, how's everybody doing today?
Great.
Amazing. Cannot complain. Nice and warm out here in LA. Sounds like it's cold out your way, Inea.
Excuse me?
Is it cold out your? I said it's nice. Could you hear
Yes.
me? Okay?
Yes, it is. Okay.
Jeez.
You know what? I'm happy. I'm happy with my foot of snow.
Jeez, I'm happy with my shining sun.
Anyway, let's talk about some movies.
Let's do it.
We're kind of in the middle here. We're at like 55, but very sunny, so no complaints here.
All right. Is it cold at night? Is it 55 during the day?
55 during the day and probably like 30 something at night. And then we had 3 weeks of ice. The past 3 weekends have been ice and snow. So it's been all over the place.
Well, I'm glad we're all staying alive during these cold and warm and snowy times so we can talk about bad movies.
This isn't. We'll talk about this later. This isn't funny. Anyway, so what are some movies that you watched? That you want to start off
Wait,
with?
so okay, how are we gonna dive into this? Do we want to know movies right off the bat? Are we just gonna start listing movies? Because are we gonna talk about why bad movies are bad or why they're so good or like, which I think there's a difference. There's some movies that are bad, but I love them because they are so bad and stupid. And then there's other movies that are bad and they are just horrible to watch. I'm like, how did this thing get put into production? So I think that there's some I'm going to chat about today. I don't know if we want to drop the names yet or if we want to try to dive into what we've seen and if we're just going to talk about ones that we've personally seen. But what are your guys' thoughts on bad movies? Do you feel like it's a waste of time? Do you like watching them? Because I'm not going to lie, a lot of the time if there's a movie that I hate when I'm watching it, I'll just be like, I can't do this. I can't sit through this. It's a waste of time. It's not good. I'm just, I want to watch something good instead. But do you guys enjoy a bad movie or do you hate it and want it to end?
No, I love a good bad movie. Sometimes I feel like bad movies are just better just because they are just so bad. You really don't need like a lot of critical thinking to enjoy it because a lot of movies out now, people are overanalyzing just every little thing, but when a movie's just little effort was put into it, it's just enjoyable for face value.
Yeah, I feel the same way because I think there's movies that are like so bad they're good, and I think there's like, people have made lists of those out there. But for me, I feel like there's certain movies, and maybe they have also relatively bad Rotten Tomato scores as well. I feel like there's some movies that are bad that I just can't stand, and they follow me around. And and Inea and I have discussed this on the show before. There's a film called 2012 that I can't stand, and it has like a 40. Yeah.
Is it?
She says this all the time. That's literally her favorite movie, dude. We've talked about this before.
No.
It's a front. It's a front. Don't listen to her.
That's wrong. That's just wrong because this movie has followed me around since it came out in 2009, and I just can't take it anymore.
Because
and it's
you
just
love
bad.
it so much.
No.
Be honest. Be honest.
No.
All right, let's look. So 2012, I remember when that movie came out, and it came out in 2009, I guess. Okay, wrong year. They should have put it out 4 years later. But
it was.
By the way, though, that was a big budget movie, $200 million, and it made a lot of money. It made $791 million, and it was just what your typical, wasn't it like apocalyptic, the world is ending movie? Why do you hate it so much?
It's just bad. I mean, yes, the graphics are good, but it is on TV every day, and it's been on TV every day for like the past, I don't know, 10 years, I guess, or sorta. Yeah. And it's just, I can't I can't do it.
A liar you are.
John
But yeah.
Cusack, Woody Harrelson, Danny Glover.
I think her issue is just that she says she doesn't like the movie for whatever reason.
Well, have you
Or
seen
that-
it? Like, do you like the movie 2012?
No, I haven't seen it.
So here you are talking your smack, and you haven't even seen the movie that you're giving her crap for not liking.
Yes,
Your mind.
yes, I will. I will.
Wow.
I will.
You will change your mind once you've seen it. You will
Once you
change your
see it,
mind.
I
you
know I
can't
said that last time we had this conversation. I still have not seen it since then, but you know what? That's besides the point.
Yeah, that's like me with Succession, the show that you guys have been telling me to watch for literally months. I haven't watched it yet. I promise I will someday. The only
Talk about
difference
that later.
apparently it's a really good show because it wins all the
We'll talk
awards.
about that later.
We'll talk about that later. So 2012 is not a good film,
According to Becca.
which we haven't seen it though. So I don't know how important our
Which is why I'm just gonna say, you know what? According to Becca, it's not a good movie. But other than that, people seem to enjoy it.
why? Because it made a lot of money in theaters. Have you heard? Do you have any friends that have seen it on here and say this movie 2012 is such a good movie? I had no interest in seeing it, so I never saw it. I'm not like a post-apocalyptic like what was I forget what the other movie was. There was another world-ending movie, and I remember like a big tsunami was hitting New York or something. But I was just like,
The day
Oh,
after tomorrow.
the day after tomorrow.
tomorrow. Yeah, I'm just not. I don't. I don't care
That
about
one
the
was
movie.
kind of slow.
San Andreas with like The Rock. I'm like, nah, these end of the world movies. No. But so is this kicking off our movie discussion then? Did we kick it off with 2012? Is that what we're starting with movies that we do not like?
I
She
guess.
says
I mean,
that
that's
every episode, so that's just
But every
that's
episode she says,
unrelated.
hey, first off, I don't like 2012. Bad movie.
Yeah, that's exactly that's a part of the intro now.
Fair enough.
So
it has come up in every episode though.
Has it?
It really
almost.
has. There's like
Gee.
4 of them, I think.
Okay, fair enough.
And only one of them we were actually talking about disaster movies. So, like I said, she is a liar. It's her favorite movie.
But it is
Clearly, it's her favorite movie. She keeps talking about it.
2012 though, it does get a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, a 47% from the audience. So it does get low scores from
That
low scores.
is too high for us to talk about today.
I was gonna say, but today we are
We're
talking
talking about
low,
the
low.
0%,
We're talking
1%.
and the 1% on Rotten Tomatoes. So as far as we're concerned, 2012 is an incredible film that is just mind blowing because it has a 39%
Phenomenal.
against critics,
The
a
best.
47% the audience.
So, what is the
Moving
lowest?
on.
Well, I guess that's not really. I'm sure we've all seen some 0% rated movies. I guess we'll talk about our favorite of the 0%. Care to start us off, Nicholas?
Oh, are we talking about? I will kick us off because there is a movie that I actually really love that has a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it is The Master of Disguise. I don't know if you guys have heard about this movie or if you know what it is, but I love it. It came out in 2002. It is written by and starring Dana Carvey, who everyone or a lot of people know him from Saturday Night Live. And Master of Disguise was maybe it was because I was so young when I saw it, but I still swear that this movie holds up to this day. And by the way, if we're talking about if it was successful or not, it made $16 million at the box, or it cost $16 million to make, and it made $43 million at the box office. So it was a success to an extent, but it is revered as one of the worst movies of all time. And I absolutely and it is Dana Carvey, and he is a part of the of a family who is the master of disguises, in which they have to disguise themselves as different people and characters to infiltrate like whatever it is that they're going after. And it is really stupid and really good. And have you guys seen it? Have you guys seen The Master of Disguise?
Yes, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I have seen it. And I do remember enjoying it. Which little unrelated fun fact, I used to get Dana Carvey and Rick Moranis mixed up in that movie. So for a while I thought that it was Rick Moranis in the movie.
I can actually see that. I could see where you would see that, but I will confirm it is Dana Carvey, who
I know that
but
now.
I feel like that's where I really found out who Dana Carvey was, and that might be so disappointing to some people because he's such an iconic comedian. I've come to find now, obviously, but I was a kid when that movie came out. I thought it was hysterical, and it gets a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes. I maybe I need to watch it. I haven't seen it in years now, but it's one of those movies I've seen so many times that I just love. But Master of Disguise came out 20 years ago this year, actually, which is ridiculous. Yikes, time flies. But I think it is a great movie, not deserving of a 1%. I think it's deserving of a 43%, not a 1%.
Care to explain why you give it a solid 43%?
I just genuinely think it's a because I thought that it was a movie, and I still think it is. Like, it's a stupid
It is a
movie.
movie.
Can't deny it. And they knew it was stupid when they were making it. Like, nobody made that thinking, like, we're making comedy gold right here, I don't think. And I just tried to enjoy it for what it was, which was a dumb comedy. And I guess it's kind of cringy, some of the jokes in it that make you laugh for as dumb and bad as it is. But all in all, I just liked it.
Just
I
chalk
think
it up to being a 2002 movie.
22, baby, 2002, baby. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I remember really enjoying that movie, especially the Turtle Club scene.
Are you not turtly enough for the turtle?
Turtle Club.
Yeah, exactly.
That scene like honestly made me laugh super hard. My brother like showed me that for the first time when I was younger, and it was all we were quoting for like 3 months straight.
By the way,
So I agree. I agree.
Dana Carvey and Mike Myers, because they did Wayne's World together. And right? Was that Dana Carvey in Wayne's World? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I just sounding like an idiot right now?
I
Let
think
me
I think you're right.
Don't ask me.
let me just go into my oh yeah, okay, I was right. But I remember that was also the time like when like Austin Powers was coming out, and then Mike Myers was killing it with Austin Powers, which was huge because that was fresh after his Saturday Night Live. But then Dana Carvey came out with Master of Disguise, and everyone was just like, "Oh no, 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 that's not good." But I love it, even though it has a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes, one of the lowest rated movies of all time. I think it is solid. So that's where I'm kicking this list off. Is with 2002's Master of Disguise. Woo!
We're gonna take it back a little further because I kind of want to talk about a very lovable movie, a lovable family movie about space creatures.
Oh, I love it. Steven Spielberg's E.T., a classic movie that it was one of the most iconic movies of all time. It doesn't belong on this list. E.T., that was incredible. Drew Barrymore, a young child actor in this. So
Yeah, definitely E.T. That's exactly what we're talking about, not the other one.
not
Inea, is this
Not
is
the
this
other
going where I
one.
think it's going?
Yes, it is. We're talking about Mac and Me.
oh, no.
By the face of disgust, Nicholas.
Mac and Me, one of the worst movies of all time and one of the most pathetic attempts of trying to capture an audience from a hugely successful title, which is E.T., one of the best movies of all time. But break
Yes,
down for
one
me.
of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. It's one of the longest commercials I've ever sat through in my life. Uh, Another little fun fact about me. So, growing up, me and my brothers used to watch that movie all the time. We used to eat caramel popcorn while watching that movie, and I saw that movie before I ever saw E.T.
Okay,
So
so
when
now
I
we are talking about Mac and Me now, correct?
Yes.
yes,
Okay, I had to just clarify that. But the 1988 science fiction movie that wanted to be E.T. but wasn't. You grew up watching it your whole life, it sounds like, for some ridiculous reason. Sounds like you had a horrible childhood. So go on and tell me about why you were watching Mac and Me and stuffing your face with caramel popcorn.
excuse me.
Excuse me.
I'm gonna tell my mom you said that
That's fine because I've
later.
seen the movie and it's horrible.
It's amazing.
In
Okay.
fact, I'm glad that you're going to tell your mother so I can talk to her about why the hell she was letting her kids watch such a horrible movie. So go on.
Because it was amazing. Anyway,
Oh.
so it sounds like you enjoyed the movie lots.
Yeah, totally. Grew up watching it.
Starring, it
Arnold.
stars the Ronald McDonald man himself. Yeah, you don't. As a kid, I always thought it was weird how like much they were pushing like the McDonald's and Coke image in the movie. The original trailer for the movie, or at least one of the trailers of the movie, was narrated by Ronald McDonald, and there's a whole birthday party scene that takes place in a McDonald's. They, are drinking Coke, this life-saving drink. So it is just essentially like an hour and a half long
Bad.
commercial.
And one of the reasons, I mean, it's hated for a lot of reasons. It's just genuinely a terrible movie. But it's funny because one of the reasons it's so hated is because of the product placement of McDonald's and Coca-Cola. And you don't like you. I feel like it's just funny to watch and to see how blatantly stupid they're just like, yeah, we don't care. Let's just make this an ad as much as we can for McDonald's and for Coke. And so they went all out with it. But also, it's interesting because when I think back to like maybe like Master of Disguise or even Mac and Me for You, I feel like when you're a kid, you can't like it's so much harder for you to tell when a movie is just terrible.
Because you're
And you
just
just
watching it to watch it.
yeah, and you're just like, yeah, this is happening, this is this and that. So did you genuinely like the movie as a kid, Mac and Me, when you were growing
Yeah,
up?
because I was
And
like 6.
do you still like it like now? Does it like have it's like one of those movies that has a special place in your heart, or do you watch it now and you're like, oh God, this movie's yikes?
It's funny to watch because it is just hilarious. It's hilariously bad, but it doesn't hold a special place in my heart. No.
Hmm.
But I think the funniest, it's actually really devastating, is that the main character, he dies in the movie. And
Does he?
then
I don't even remember that.
yeah, in the end of the
I
movie,
did
he
not.
like, yeah, the police, like the military and stuff, they accidentally explode like this grocery store, and then the boy, like, he dies, and then the aliens are all like, oh no, we must save him. So they bring him back to life, and then the law enforcement and like NASA scientist agents are all like, wow, these aliens, they're really something. So they grant them U.S. citizenship. But what's funny is like,
Thank God.
is that what they wanted? No, they wanted to go back home. So
Well,
it was quite the movie, I think. But I think it deserved like a solid 7%.
saw. Okay, that's not that good.
Mac and
But
Me, Mac and Me has a
0 is a bit of
4%
a stretch.
on.
what does it have?
No, it has a 4%.
Okay, that's a
No,
little
that makes
high.
sense. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Never mind. That makes sense. I thought it was
Yeah.
0% with the others, but no, 4% makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I will go on record and say I love Mac and Me. That was the first movie that I thought of when we were talking about doing a worst of Rotten Tomatoes episode, because I would say, even though I didn't necessarily grow up with it because I didn't see it until like later, I think it does hold a special place in my heart because it just makes me laugh all of the time. And like there's two instances where before I really knew the whole movie and that I even knew it was an ET like ripoff basically was when I was younger, I used to watch Conan O'Brien's show and Paul Rudd would be on. And this started I think in like 2004 or 2005 where Paul Rudd would come on the show and he would say, "Oh, I brought a clip from my new TV show or I brought a clip from my new movie." And this went on until Conan show ended like late last year, and he would just play the same clip of the main character in the wheelchair rolling off the cliff. And then Mac like coming up from the pond and like going, "Whoa." And he would just play that same clip every single time he went on the show. I had no idea where that clip came from. And then probably 3 or 4 years ago, Drew Gooden, YouTuber, did a video about Mac and Me, and that made me finally go and watch the whole film. And it's just amazing. And there were other product placements in it. There was some for like Skittles and like all kinds of candies and things. And the scene that is in my head is when the main character puts Mac into like a bear suit and carries him like they're going out somewhere, and the bear
McDonald's birthday party.
exactly, and Mac literally crawls in the back seat and they're all like, okay, this teddy bear is moving, but no one's saying anything about it. And they show up to McDonald's and there's just like dancing and flash mobs happening. And then, as it goes on, Max starts dancing on the counter at the McDonald's. And it's just, it's a chaotic mess, but it's a masterpiece at the same time.
And Ronald McDonald, the man himself, was there. He made a guest appearance.
I
Ronald
know,
freaking
it's
McDonald.
iconic.
A true celebrity, man. They should have got Grimace.
So Mac and Me came out in 1988 and it cost $13 million to make and it brought in $6.4 million. So it was a big flop, especially when compared to E.T., which came out in 1982 because that cost $10.5 million to make, but it brought in $792 million. So it was a much more successful film. But by the way, this has nothing to do with bad movies. But because you mentioned Conan O'Brien and the little bit that Paul Rudd would do, I quickly have to say, because it was so good and I love it, and this is not the theme of the episode, but there's a new show on Netflix called Murderville. Have you guys seen it or heard of it?
I'm going to start watching it tonight.
Okay,
I
good.
cannot wait to watch it.
Because I watched it, the full thing, the other day, and then last night I was hanging out with Damon and I made him start watching it because it was so good and fun. I don't know if you know the premise of it, but it is a lot of fun, so you should check it out. It's like a murder crime series starring Will Arnett, and in each episode he has a new partner that has to help him solve a murder. But what is so fun and exciting is that everyone in the episode, and they tell you this right off the intro, so I'm not ruining anything. This is the intro of the show. But every episode, Will Arnett and everyone else has the script to know what the show's about, but his guests in every episode have not been able to read the script, so they have to improv their way through the episode, and it is so fun to watch because the first one's with Conan O'Brien, and then there's other great names like Sharon Stone, Kumail Nanjiani, and you'll enjoy it. But you just mentioned Conan O'Brien for his little bit with Paul Rudd, and it made me think of that. So I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I can't
how did
wait
he not
watch
catch
it.
on to that?
What's that?
How did Conan O'Brien not catch on to that? I ask that every time Becca mentions that, but like if it carried on from like 2004 to now, I feel like you should have picked up on it like after maybe the third time.
And it's funny because in my head, like parts of it, because there's I don't know who did it, but someone on YouTube did like a super cut of every single time Paul had been on and he played that. And I'm going to post it on the spoilers only Twitter because I think everybody needs to see that. But so I think there was like after the third or fourth time, I remember there was a part where Conan was like, every time you're on here, you play this clip from this film, Mac and Me from the 1980s. And then Paul's like, I'm not going to do it this time. And then it was like years and years later when Paul became Ant-Man and he brought a clip and he said, oh, by the way, Marvel got mad at me and they said, I can't play this clip. I really have to show you a clip of Ant-Man. And I don't know how they did it, but they edited in the alien and like clips into the Ant-Man clip. So it's like it changes every time. But the last time he did it, I think it was like late 2021, and it was like one of the last shows, Conan's last show, and he had Bill Hader on, and Bill Hader was telling Conan a story about like an SNL skit that got cut, and I guess it was with Paul Rudd one of the times that he hosted. So Paul Rudd comes out and he's like, oh, guess what? They record the dress rehearsals. We've got this on tape. And everybody starts freaking out, but then it turns out to be the clip of Mac and Me. And Bill lost his mind and Conan just starts like cry laughing. It's hilarious.
I need to watch those clips to see that because I didn't realize that it was such an ongoing thing with Paul Rudd and Conan O'Brien that he was bringing clips of that show into it. But I love that. It's like it reminds me of Jimmy Kimmel in his Matt Damon feud.
Yeah.
That he always has going on, and how every episode Jimmy Kimmel's like, sorry, Matt Damon, we didn't have time for you, but we'll see you next time. But I love it. I haven't seen Matt in years, and I remember I first watched it because I heard that it was just like the worst wannabe of E.T. So I'm glad
it's very obvious that it's an E.T. ripoff.
Oh yeah.
Produced by McDonald's.
It's why I feel like there's some movies that are so bad they just make a place for themselves in history, though, that they wouldn't have had if they weren't such bad movies. And Mac and Me, I feel like, is one of those. It's just a blatant ripoff of one of the most successful movies of all time, and it's such a blatant just market trying to be like just the most marketed like McDonald's and Coke and product placement movies of all time. And I don't know if anybody from that movie went on to do anything popular, but
I did not recognize. I looked at the cast earlier. No, not really. But a little funny thing is that in the end of the movie, Mac is wearing a McDonald's kids shirt,
of course he is.
a Mick kids shirt when they're getting their citizenship. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah. Also, his name stands for mysterious alien creature. Did
That's
not know that until earlier. So if you needed any more confirmation, in case the movie itself was not enough, another obvious ripoff of E.T. Extraterrestrial. So yeah, there's that.
Sounds like an official scientific name for alien species.
It is. NASA told me themselves.
No.
But I think that's, well, actually, Nick, what would you care to rate this movie out of 100? If Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 4%, what would you give it?
No, you know what? I think a 4% is very fitting for it, and I think that I can agree with that score. And it's also one of those movies, though, now that's just so amusing to watch and so dumb that it's kind of funny. But you can't deny it's a horrible movie. And like when I see movies like that, though, and like for some reason, all that I think maybe the adults involved with it, it's just funny to me. Like when adult actors agree to projects like this, like when they're reading it, I don't know if I guess in their heads they're all thinking this could be my big break. This is like the next DT. This could be a big movie, blah 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 blah. But then like just like when I see the parents in this movie or like cops in this movie or just like the people acting like adults, I'm like, you didn't realize during the production this was just the stupidest thing ever that you were filming. And I think 4% is fair.
So yeah, I would give it a 4% too. So
Woo!
the 7% was a little too high. Or yeah, so
I forget, is it at a 7% right now or is that a 4%?
no, it's 4%, but I said I'd give it a 7 until I realized it was at 4%. So I think 4% is very fitting.
Yeah, calm down. Calm down. It deserves a 6. That's 7. Rebecca, what would you give that lovely movie?
Well, you know, I'll agree with the majority here. I'll say I'll give it a 4, but I think even though, you know, it was a flop in the box office, I think it kind of just lives on in all our hearts. So I think that's fitting.
And is that the worst? It's almost like it could have been an average movie that was forgotten, but instead it was a terrible movie that is just remembered because of how silly and dumb and stupid it was. So
if it wasn't a McDonald's commercial featuring
Coca-Cola,
great value ET, it could have been a solid movie.
It would have needed some work. But the thing is, I feel like there are movies that are so bad that it benefits the movie's life and just place in history much more than it would have if it was just an okay movie or even a good movie. And I think even though its score is nowhere near as low as most of the movies that we're talking about today, but The Room. Have you guys seen The Room? Have you heard about The Room? It's what the James Franco movie was based off of that came out called The Disaster Artist, which
I've heard of it, never seen it though.
Is that the one with
that's
the one with Tommy Wiseau, right?
Yeah. Tommy Wiseau, he wrote, directed, produced, and starred in it. And it is genuinely like, so it has like a 23% or something on Rotten Tomatoes. And I do not understand how. It's truly one of the stupidest things that I have ever seen. And this guy, if you ever watched The Disaster Artist with James Franco, it's a pretty good backstory.
That one actually did a lot better than, you know, The Room did.
Oh yeah, because it was a good movie and it was fun. But also that movie came out right at the same time that James Franco was being called out for some stuff, and then because of that, I don't know. I know that the movie still did good, but a lot of people thought he was going to be nominated for awards for it and stuff, but then he wasn't. But The Room was just a god awful movie. Like there were scenes where whenever they were outside, he wanted to be on a green screen so it looked terrible behind them. And the dialogue and the audio was the stupidest thing ever. And it was Tommy Wiseau thinking he was going to make the best movie of all time. and he didn't. When it was in theaters, it initially made $1,900, and it cost $6 million to make. So I mean, that's a pretty big loss. But it's
Wow.
one of the movies though that was so bad that in the last 20 years since it's come out, it's really gotten like a cult following, and I'm sure it's hugely profitable now. And he's still, if you follow him on Twitter, every week he's doing sold out showings of this movie 20 years later out in every like just a bunch of big cities. So it is a horrible movie. It's revered as one of the worst movies of all time, The Room. And truly, if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. It's the most. I watched it with my dad for the first time a couple years ago, and it's such cringy dialogue, and it's just stupid. But it's funny because of that. And there's a reason why it has a huge following after 20 years. So I know it's not at a 0 or 1%. It's at a 20 something percent around Tomatoes. But The Room, which inspired, I mean, I think the fact it inspired a movie with A-list actors, The Disaster Artist with James Franco, shows that a terrible movie can still somehow get a notable and long following. But The Room, I guess that's kind of on the list. What's up? Good stuff.
I will check it out and give you my word.
Oh, you'll hate it, but it's good in a bad way. It's bad
Like
in a good way.
people so like you don't know, man. Becca, your turn. What's your favorite horrible, god awful movie? According to
Well,
Rotten Tomatoes.
okay, so I know that you and I have talked about this before. But there's a film that came out in 2010
Oh.
called Standing Ovation.
Standing ovation. Break it down for me, Becca.
So basically, this movie, it was brought to my attention by another YouTuber, by Danny Gonzalez, who, does hilarious videos just like Drew Gooden. Um, and he basically did this review of this movie, and he was like, this is like the worst movie I've ever seen. And it basically follows this group of 5 friends from middle school, and they're in a singing group called the Five Ovations, and they are competing in a national music video contest. So basically, this whole movie is centered around the group of girls, and there's a rival group called the Wiggies. And the first time I had like looked it up after I watched Danny's video, I literally thought they were trying to base it off the Wiggles. But no, that's not correct. I guess the main girl's father from the Wiggies owns like this wig factory, and so they all wear wigs for their costumes.
Can I just say?
Yes.
I guess the wig company in that movie is like, oh, it's like the biggest wig factory in America. If you look at the quality of those wigs, Party City, Walmart quality, Dollar Tree quality, horrible. I'm keeping this man in business.
As you talk about the movie, I'm reading up on it. I just pulled it up in front of me, and I can just tell that even by the poster of the movie. I'm like, come on. Yeah. It does not look good. And it's funny that it came out a lot more recent than I'd imagine a movie that terrible could come out. But it was, by the way, a movie that cost
$5 million, only $550,000.
Brought in 550, like Anaya just said, 550,000 at the box office. So it was a flop. So you watched this after knowing it was a terrible movie then, Becca, right?
Yes, I did. I had seen it first through Danny's video, and I was just so intrigued. I was like, I'm going to go watch this. And I even rewatched it, just the other day in preparation for this, and I forgot about so many like just weird parts of the movie. It is. It really is. And like, like the end of the movie is basically them winning. The Five Ovations end up winning this television contract and $1 million. But like along the way, the main girl, I'm pretty sure her name was Brittany. She meets
it sure was Brittany O'Brien, played by Kayla Jackson. Go on.
Yeah. She meets this girl named Joey, who ends up sort of being like a manager to the group.
Joey, okay.
But
Wait, why was Joey low-key tied to the mafia? She gave me very much, I work for an organization, but I will not do
Exactly, because like when I first saw her in the movie, I was like, yeah, I'm getting like Tony Soprano vibes right now because of the way she was talking, she was like, "Hey, if you do something for me, I'll do something for you." She literally says to Brittany, because the whole thing is like if Joey helps Brittany like manage the group, Joey wants to find who stole $90,000 from her dad, and I guess she stole from her dad so much that her dad died.
As I was saying, it's very all over the place.
She stole from her dad so much that he died.
Someone did.
Yeah,
someone did.
He died. Like he just got so upset that he just died.
He's like, I'm over this. I'm gonna die. This is just terrible. Stop stealing from me. I'm gonna put an end to this.
I feel like if someone stole $90,000 from me, I think I would die too.
Oh my God! You guys need to watch. By the way,
$900,000 or something like that. It was
everything that we're mentioning now is making me think of cool and good movies. By the way, though, speaking of stealing money, you guys need to check out. But it's good. We'll sprinkle in some good titles for people to check out throughout this episode. The Tinder Swindler on Netflix. It is the number 2 highest ranked movie on it right now. It's a documentary about this. I don't even want to say what it's about, but it is so good, and it's about money being.
How are you supposed to get people hyped up for it, Nick?
Okay, just kidding then. It is a guy who went on Tinder and he used it and lied about being this rich billionaire and traveling the world and being associated with this diamond family so that he could go on dates with girls. But he ended up manipulating girls constantly for years and years to get them to give him money so he could live his lavish lifestyle and use their money to then go on to the next girl to look like he was a rich guy. And it was like a Ponzi scheme that he was running. And we talked about stealing money and this incredible movie, Standing Ovation, that just sounds like it deserves a standing ovation because it was so good.
It was excellent, amazing, phenomenal. Oscar
but it made me think about the Tinder Swindler, which you guys should check out. It's on Netflix. It is a mind-blowing story.
That sounds really interesting.
It's brand new.
But
yes, it's number 2 on Netflix, but good stuff. What was that though, Becca?
What I was going to say, what I'll add about Standing Ovation was, so one of the quotes that Joey says to Brittany, and that's why I said I got Tony Soprano vibes, was she was like, if you help me find whoever stole this money from my father and put him 6 feet under, I'll help you with your group. If you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Mind you, she has like a very heavy Jersey accent. Very heavily Italian American Jersey accent. So it's the mafia is strong in her blood.
So something about Brittany was earlier in the film we find out that her and her brother live with her grandfather because her mother died and her father is just out of her life. Like she looks at photos of her parents and the father's face is scratched out, but she can only see like this tattoo or something that he has on his wrist. So flash forward to the end of the movie when they end up winning, the 5 Ovations end up winning the $1 million prize as well as this TV contract. She goes upstairs to meet the owner of this television company, and it's her father, and her father was the one who stole the money from Joey's dad.
Okay,
what's funny is Joey knew all along that that was her father and that they were going towards him. That's why she wanted Brittany to come along, but never told Brittany, hey, this is your father, we're gonna go find him. So she just was pulling her all along. It's a mess. I definitely recommend watching it. It's on Tubi. And if it's on Tubi, it's not that great of a movie.
It's on Tubi, that means it's free, and that's how you know it is crap.
It's not that great of a movie.
Why not check it out? Yeah, I was reading up right now on the promotion of it, and it's like on Wikipedia it says Standing Ovation premiered at Universal City Walk, which is just around the corner from where I am, which was attended by Barbra Streisand as well as
because it was produced by her husband. Which is that's the reason why it got a theatrical release, because it was produced by Barbra Streisand's husband.
Oh, so it actually got a theatrical. I mean, I know it made $550,000 or whatever, so it wasn't really, but it's like
it would have been straight to TV, but
And I guess after the film's opening, the cast of Standing Ovation performed a concert raising $60,000 for children of some orphanage in the Bahamas. Okay, that's nice. But the film was panned by critics. But okay.
It has a 6%. It has a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that's fair. However, it is still one of my favorites because it's enjoyable. It has a lot of plot holes. It's a mess.
It's
Like
so
kind of like
funny.
Mac and Me. It's chaotic. And one other thing I'll mention about how you said the wigs are just such poor quality. They literally use Xbox
Xbox 360 headsets. I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna say, okay, so Nick, in the beginning of the movie, they're about to go on stage, and then like the stage manager hands some headsets to be able to sing out of, and then we get a close up of the headsets because he's like putting pepper flakes into like the little foam caps, and then on the side you can see that they're Xbox 360 gaming headsets.
Oh
So
no.
they couldn't even like be
Wait,
bothered to either spray paint over it or use like
get something
non.
else. I have to say this though. So the film was directed by Stuart Raffle. He also directed Mac and Me.
Are you serious?
Are you
I'm dead
kidding?
serious. And I just looked that up right now.
Are you serious?
What are the odds of that? Literally, look it
Wow.
up. If you look it up right now, he's literally the director of Mac and Me and Standing Ovation. And what are the odds of that? This, I feel like we should do an episode where we just watch his stuff because he must do some of the worst movies of all time. I can't believe that though. That is so funny that he did both of those.
That is hilarious.
I'm looking at the rest of his movies, and I can tell you they're definitely not that good. I guess he directed Mannequin 2. I've only ever seen the first one, but it's been years since I've seen it. The movie about that department store mannequin lady coming to life.
Okay, never heard of it. That sounds terrible. But what are the odds
It
though
is.
that this directed Mac and Me? That was another movie that we were talking about and that we had no idea he did. That is so funny because this guy has a. Let me
Makes
see on
sense.
Wikipedia. It must say he must be known as one of the worst filmmakers of all time. Come on,
This is amazing.
that's
I mean,
yeah, ridiculous.
Looks like he's from the United Kingdom, is what it says. We got to have him on the show.
He directed
We got to
and
have
wrote.
him on.
Made to provide royalties to the McDonald's Foundation to have the lead with spina bifida, which is a medical condition, so that's nice. Good for you. Which became a cult favorite and was re-released in 2019. I guess Mac and Me came out again in 2019. Jeez.
what?
But, I don't know. But yeah, that's funny. So this guy makes terrible movies, but good stuff.
Wow.
I'm amazed by that. That's hilarious. Good
What
for
are the
him, I
I just think the
guess.
odds of that are so funny. I just clicked on his name when we were talking about him, and I was like, no freaking way. Woo! Standing ovation does not get a standing ovation.
Yeah, the editing's just not that good. The title cards looks like it was like produced in Windows Movie Maker. So
Does it?
yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a scene where they're filming because they have to make their own music videos to enter into the contest, and there's a scene where the Wiggies are filming their video like on a boardwalk, and I forgot to mention there's this little girl that tries to get herself into these groups.
She's
Do you
just
remember
always
her,
there. She's
Isaiah?
just always
I
there,
know.
man. She just always pops. Her dad just drops her off at places, and she just kind of throws herself into other people's groups. She
And
knows
she
their
said
choreography and routines and stuff, and just kind of is just there.
she says the weirdest things. Like in the beginning, she was trying to be in the Five Ovations, and then a few seconds later, she tries to join the Wiggies, and she's talking to the stage manager, and she's like, I talk to dead people, and they're not happy, or something like that, and just
What do
goes
they
away, and
say?
then
They
we don't see
complain a
her
lot.
again.
But it sounds like we need to dive into the film history of Stuart Raffle because he has done unexpectedly two of the terrible movies on this list. He's 80 years old now, so the guy's pretty old now. And I won't be surprised if he's revered as a terrible filmmaker because it sure seems like he should be.
I just looked at his Wikipedia, and like the last movie he directed was in 2015. So I guess he kind of got the clue after
Or he just got
40
old.
years.
Like I said, he's 80 years old, so he still would have been 75-ish, 73 in 2015. So maybe he's just old. Woo! What other movies do we have? I feel like we had plenty to say about Standing Ovation, which does not deserve a standing ovation. What else is on the list, guys?
I think it's circling back to your turn. Oh, wait, before we do that. Actually, a great little segue since we were just talking about mafia vibes. Let's talk about Gotti.
Okay.
Perfect.
Now, that is a movie and a story that had potential because I've seen several really good documentaries about the story of Gotti.
After
And
watching the movie, I looked it up on Wikipedia and I was like, "Are you kidding me? That sounds like such an interesting concept and story that even watching, I was like, this was just executed so poorly. It was anticlimactic. I feel like you could have been so much better, but somehow you turned like a really like kind of jaw-dropping story in a way and turned it into just nothing."
yeah, and it was one of those movies I saw it when it first. Oh no, it was one of those movies too that I saw with my Movie Pass because that came out when Movie Pass was around.
That's what it said
And
on Wikipedia too.
and it was actually made by Movie Pass, wasn't it? Wasn't Movie
Yeah.
Pass the company behind it?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's how you know it's a bad start because Movie Pass, as we all remember, forever changed the movie theater
Did
world
so
because
well. That's why they still exist today.
but they might not exist, but it definitely reshaped the movie industry. That's why like I pay $20 a month now for AMC A-List and I can see 3 movies per week at any AMC theater, which I do not do at all. What, Inea? You look like you just saw a ghost.
I hit my dog on accident.
Wow, animal abuse on this podcast. That's great.
I'm sorry. He turned away.
It was perfectly off of camera when you did that because I could not tell. But I remember though it was a Movie Pass venture or whatever their company was called. But they only I think they only had like 2 movies, and one of them was America or something Animal. Let me see what the name of the other Movie Pass movie was. But Gotti, I don't know if you guys ever saw the documentaries about it. Really good crime story, really fascinating. But then they came out with this John Travolta star movie that just felt so half-assed. Like it just felt so. It was just bad. Like I
It
saw
wasn't
it.
visually appealing. It wasn't
No.
appealing with the way that it was executed. So it just kind of it for me. It was very hard to watch. I had to like restart it because I just was not paying attention at all.
I feel the same way about it because I I do like watching documentaries about, historical figures, true crime things. I find that all super interesting. And, the mafia is no exception. It's a very interesting thing, and they've had so many movies about it, like Goodfellas, The Godfather. I mean, there's some of the highest rated movies, most well-known movies are mafia movies. So for a movie like Gotti to also have someone like John Travolta, who, he's been around forever. And quick side note about him, he has a lot of terrible films on Rotten Tomatoes because during the research process for this episode, I looked
I
at a bunch of
saw a
his
lot of his movies on there
movies, and
too.
he has 5 movies that are at 0%, and then about I think maybe 5 or 6 more that are anywhere from like 2 to 15%. So I don't know what happened, but speaking of Gotti, I mean it was very hard to watch. I couldn't really get through the entire thing. I think that I think a lot of people really liked the way that the makeup was, and I think the transformation of his character. I think that was pretty neat. But it actually it was nominated for 6 Razzies at the Golden
Was
Raspberry Awards.
didn't he
Um,
win a Razzie for worst actor? Oh my god,
And
he's bald.
I will say one thing what did you say? Oh my God, he's old. Is that
I
what you
said
said?
bald.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I searched up John Travolta, and the first picture that came up was just him, chromed out, man.
First thing is John Travolta. He's for years worn a toupee. So like in any movies that you see, or a lot of time when he's out in public, and this has nothing to do with the movie and whatever makes him confident and happy, but he wears a toupee, so it's kind of always surprising to see him in his natural bald setting. But his career is interesting because like his career started to fall off at first in like the 80s and early 90s, and then he was doing a bunch of bad movies, and then Quentin Tarantino got him for Pulp Fiction, which like revived his career and then gave him a good opportunity to do some more good work. But then I feel like he just, I don't know why. I don't know if he's hard to work with. I don't know if he has a bad team behind him, but I feel like John
Definitely.
Travolta has so many bad movies in his resume that are just so cringy and so bad and ridiculous. And it's weird to see an actor do films like that after coming off of stuff like Pulp Fiction. And one of my favorite movies of all time growing up was Grease. I used to watch that movie all the time as a kid.
Oh
But
yeah.
and he was so young in that, I guess. Jesus.
So
But
I think that was like 77, right?
geez. Yeah,
I
that sounds
think.
about right.
Yeah.
77. So how long ago would that have been now? 77, 87, 97, 2000, 12, 44 years or something like that. 46 years. 42, something. But that's
45.
wow.
Yeah. But
This isn't the
that'll
math.
be, I think Grease will always be like a timeless movie. I've seen that more times than I can count, and the
And I,
soundtrack too is great. But it's really interesting, like how you were saying, to see how he's got Grease, Pulp Fiction, Saturday Night Fever. He's got like such an incredible list of movies that he's been in and been a part of. And then on the other hand, he's got like a lot of
a lot of,
bombs and a lot of
lot of
flops.
yeah. And so this movie we were saying this was a movie pass film. So like the company Movie Pass actually made this. And one thing that was interesting though was I guess so they only ever did two movies. The other one they did was American Animals, which I actually thought was really good if you guys ever saw that. But when Gotti came out, I guess the critics gave it terrible reviews, but then the audience score started building up higher and higher. But then the audience scores was only people that ever rated American Animals and Gotti, which are the two Movie Pass movies. So everyone started to speculate that Movie Pass was just creating fake accounts to rate their movies higher and higher. And Gotti was such a horrible movie that, of course, a bunch of people wouldn't be liking it. But just some more fun history of a terrible movie that bald John Travolta had something to do with.
Yeah, and just for because when I mentioned the Razzies earlier, he actually did not win that year.
Oh.
And I thought he did, but it actually the Golden Razzie in 2018 went to Donald Trump.
Well deserved.
Was he-
Congratulations, Trump. It couldn't have gone to a better guy. What did he win for? I thought Razzies were just for actor stuff. Or it was
That's
'cause
what
he
I'm
was
saying.
Yeah, well, it says
acting
it
like a
says here that there were two movies, I guess, where he played himself. I feel like they were more like documentaries, maybe. There was Death of a Nation and Fahrenheit 11/9.
Oh yeah,
So
that was a Michael Moore movie, Fahrenheit 11/9, and Death of a Nation was a documentary. So yeah, they were just documentary type stuff.
yeah, so he beat out John Travolta for Gotti, Will Ferrell for Holmes and Watson, which is a movie I remember when it was coming
Yeah,
out, but I
John
never saw it.
Cusack, not John Cusack, John what's it? It was the spy
John C.
movie.
Riley.
John C. Riley, yeah, like they were like old
Yeah.
and is like a Sherlock Holmes spoof.
Yep. And then Bruce Willis was nominated for Death Wish, and Johnny Depp was nominated for Sherlock Gnomes, which I think that was an animated movie. It had to be,
Yeah, it
because
was.
that makes, yeah.
God damn.
I really thought he had won that one, but yeah, Gotti has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's the lowest rated one that we've mentioned so far today.
Oh, congrats. It comes in even lower than Master of Disguise, which is at a whopping 1%.
I don't. That's not deserved, but we already discussed that. I think the funniest part of Gotti was the scene where his son is like they're at like the block party, and he goes, "Oh, I would hate myself forever if I didn't get to talk to you." And she's all like, "Shall we stop playing?" That's not his name. And then he's like, "You want a beer?" And she's like, "I'm 16," and that woman's like in her 30s.
50.
She's like in her 30s and very obviously in her 30s. And it just reminded me of I, Tanya, how Margot Robbie played her 15-year-old character's self.
I
16-year-olds
remember that because I remember that same thing.
That's true.
And that's just exactly what it reminded me of. And I'm just like, dude, you guys couldn't get like an actress who looked like her or someone who could pass as a 16-year-old? But
Apparently
no.
not. Right? It's not Hollywood. They can't do magic. Oh wait, yeah, they could, but never mind.
I mean,
So Gotti, terrible movie, 0%. One of the two films made by or produced by MoviePass, which I'm still waiting for the day a MoviePass documentary comes out, and I cannot wait to watch the rise and fall of that. And I think one is in the works. I can't remember who was going to make that, but American Animals though was the other MoviePass movie that was fantastic. That was a lot of fun, but it was not Gotti, and it does not deserve to be on this list.
I was just gonna say I am looking forward to seeing any MoviePass documentaries, and I still carry around my MoviePass card in my wallet everywhere I go. It's just a nice reminder of what was and what
I
could
feel
have
like it's
been in the world of
good piece
movies.
of history that way. Like, if I remember, like when it first came out, and I was telling Tony about it, like he it was too good for him to believe. Like he didn't believe me. He was like, "No, there's no way." He's
Yeah.
like, "No, no, $10 a month, no." And I was like, "Dude, I'm telling you, I'm paying $10 a month for it. It is ridiculous. You should just go and do it. Try it out." And then he didn't believe it at first because nobody would. It didn't make sense. $10 a month, you can see one movie every single day at any movie or at whatever.
when it costs like $7 to watch a movie, a single movie,
Out
not
here in
including
LA,
snacks.
like $17, which is ridiculous. But
How much? How much?
$17 to see a movie in LA.
Remind me to never move to California.
But that's where though, that's where Movie Pass, which was $10 a month to see a movie at most movie theaters any day of the week, which Tony ended up getting and using like crazy. He probably single-handedly tanked Movie Pass. But he that's where like they changed the movie game, and that's where these movie companies, theater companies realized that they had to put something out there that was a subscription-based service. So now in LA for $22, I think is what it costs, $22 a month, you can see 3 movies a week at any AMC theater, which that's a pretty good deal. You can see up to 3 movies a week, $22 a month, where one movie would cost you $17 normally. So thanks Movie Pass for doing that. Thanks for putting out American Animals, which is a good movie, and F off for putting out Gotti because it was. What's next on the list, guys? Woo!
I do believe. You are next.
I was gonna mention Gotti, and you happened to mention Gotti. So
Oh, okay.
what else do we have on the list then? Just other terrible movies? Because so far I've mentioned The Room, which we didn't dive into too much because it's a more higher rated film. But I think though that The Room is one of the most iconic bad movies of all time. And then Master of Disguise, that's just a good movie. I don't care what anybody says. That movie's just
I agree.
pure
I
pure
agree.
entertainment. But any other movies that you guys are like, we got to talk about this bad movie? Hit me.
Have you seen the amazing Eddie Murphy film, 1,000 Words?
No, but I'm surprised. So I'm surprised that out of the Eddie Murphy movies, that's the one that's made it to this list and not Pluto Nash. Do you know that movie?
No, actually.
What? It was one of the biggest movie flops of all time, I believe. Let me look. Eddie Murphy, Pluto Nash. So this is revered as one of the worst movies of all time. It has a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes. The Adventures of Pluto Nash. It came out in 2002. It cost $100 million to make, and it made $7 million in
Oh,
the
well.
Wow.
and it was like everyone just said it was one of the worst movies of all time. It was critically panned. Rotten Tomatoes ranked the 79th film in the 100 worst films of the 2000s movies list with a 4%. And the let me see, it was nominated for 5 Golden Razzie Awards in 2003, including Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Eddie Murphy, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, Worst Screen Couple, and it failed to win any of them. But tell me about this other terrible movie that Eddie Murphy was in.
I'll say this one's actually a 0%, so I think that it beats Pluto Nash, maybe.
God, some of these actors
Mhm.
really go from big time movies to
That's
just
what
some
I'm
of the
saying.
worst things ever.
So basically, it's just a
And
movie about
it
this
wasn't
guy.
profitable.
Oh, no, not at all. What was the budget? I
No,
literally
the budget was 40 million and it only made 22 million at the box office. So it was
Woo!
definitely a flop. I don't think it wasn't as big as Pluto Nash because you said 100 million to 7.
Which is
That's
ridiculous.
insane.
Yeah, that's insane.
But yeah, definitely because on your show, on the Nick Majors show, you always do a box office breakdown, and so I've always remembered that the movie has to make double the
That's
budget
right.
to be profitable. So this
Woo!
was not
That's why we
profitable.
learn things.
Pluto Nash, by the way, is revered as one of the biggest box office bombs in history, and it sounds like this other movie did pretty bad as well. So Eddie Murphy, he sounds like a pretty hit or miss big name to work with.
Or yeah, there's definitely that. So basically, the whole concept of this movie is just this literary agent played by Eddie Murphy. Obviously, he talks a lot. He super arrogant, egotistical, and he goes to try to get this one guy who's like this spiritual guru and who wrote this book, and he's like, hey, I want to we want your book. We want to help you with your stuff. And so the guy picks up on the fact that he's just very self-centered, and then he goes home, and then there's this tree in his backyard that just like sprouted out of nowhere while he's talking to his wife. And basically every word that he speaks, a leaf falls from the tree, and they think like, well, if each word represents a leaf, once all the leaves are gone, the tree's gonna die, you're gonna die, so stop talking. But his job it requires him to talk, so like he tries to stop talking, but he keeps going. He does die, but he comes back to life in the end of the movie. So
Wait, what was this movie called again?
1,000 words.
Okay, this sounds horrible. So I want to look it up right now just to have it in front of me a little
Yeah.
bit to read on it. But Spooky, did you check it out? Did you?
Yeah, I have seen this movie. It is definitely strange, and I've seen a lot of Eddie Murphy movies like in childhood. I
Yeah,
I
I feel like
can
that's when he was like.
remember.
I mean, because like I feel like he'll forever be known for some of his stuff, like Doctor Doolittle stuff, or some of those. Well, I forget what else he had. Daddy Daycare, and like
Yeah,
he did have some big names.
Yeah, I remember. I don't even remember what year Daddy Daycare came out, but I do remember that movie.
I would
Coming
say
to
2000.
America.
Daddy Daycare.
Yeah,
Let's
and he
see.
had. I mean, even in the 80s with like Beverly Hills Cop, Coming to America. I mean,
That
he
was
was like
that was
huge
his
back
three,
time.
then.
Yeah.
2003.
But I feel like that was his time, the 80s, and then maybe I think the 80s were really his time, which was so long ago now. Yikes.
Yeah,
I'm
because
actually
I
looking
was.
at the information for Daddy Daycare, and it says it's at a 27%. So he just did not do a good job. But I like Daddy
And
Daycare.
I don't think like I
That's
know
it.
the Nutty Professor did not get good reviews probably. Like I feel like he did a lot of movies. Oh, remember and then like Norbit. Do you guys remember that movie that he did? That was
I
like
do.
Yeah.
I
that
do.
that must be let me see that because that must be one of the terrible movies. So that right now, that has a 9%. Dude, Eddie Murphy, what a terrible film.
Wow.
So he had but oh no, you know what though? His best stuff probably forever will be is Donkey on Shrek. I feel like that's the
Yes.
thing that he will forever at least be. No, but then he did like he was randomly in like Dreamgirls, which was a really I think
I love that movie.
yeah, and I don't even know how big his role is in it. I know his name's on the
Not
poster,
very.
but God, Eddie Murphy has a lot of stupid comedies because I guess Norbit though cost 60 million to make and it brought in 160 million, so it actually made some money, which is good.
Yeah,
But
all of it went towards prosthetics.
yeah, that's what all the money went towards was to just make him big. But I'm looking at like, so there's Meet Dave, and let's see what that gets. Meet Dave gets a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's
The
that
Nutty
movie with
Professor,
Jack Black, yeah. Or
yeah, what's that?
no, I was thinking of something else in mind.
Okay, and then yeah, he does so many bad movies. 1,000 Words, that's the one that you guys were talking about, which is a 26%. Okay. So let me click on this stupid movie. But we were what else about this dumb, ridiculous movie? And even the poster, just the poster for that movie looks terrible. Like it looks like terrible. That's not a good start. And it was what 40 million, 22 million box office. What
Yeah,
else?
it's
What
it's
else
just
about this terrible
it's a
film?
So
strange movie because like there's parts in it where, early on when then they discover the tree and, he starts explaining that every time he talks, like Inaya was saying, every time he talks, the leaves fall off, and once there's no leaves, the tree dies, he dies. You know, anytime he tries to hurt the tree, something happens to him. So like if a squirrel climbs the tree, it'll tickle him. Or if, he tries to cut down the tree, he gets a wound. So it's like the tree is him and he is the tree. And it's such a strange thing. And also it's like another thing that I thought of, and this is like, whoa, layers. Shrek, onions have layers. Perfect segue into what I was going to say.
Okay.
What I was thinking was he's a literary agent, and it's has to do with words, and then trees, paper, books. Whoa.
Okay. Don't give this. I think you're giving it more credit for being deeper than it probably.
Yeah, because okay, so the whole thing in the movie is that basically,
Trees,
so
paper, books,
he
books.
says like his last words, the leaves fall off the tree, he dies, but he comes back to life, and the trees, comes back to life. It's not flourishing, but it's because he forgives his father for dying. Yeah.
Okay.
He yeah. So his mother was in a nursing home, and she, has like dementia or something. So like she always thinks that he is his dad. So he's always like, "It's not me, mom. It's me. I'm Jack. Dad left. Like he's gone. He left us." But like we learned that he
And then
left
he's
us.
dead.
Yeah, he died.
Okay.
So he goes to visit his dad's grave. He's like, "I forgive you," and then he dies because those are his final words. And then like he comes back to life because like he finally like gave up his the real selfish thing that was holding him back was hating his father for dying.
Well, this movie sounds stupid.
It's so weird because yeah, and there's also like the scene like we know that like he's super he lacking depth or whatever as a person, or like is not letting people in, because there's a scene where he's in therapy, and instead of talking about himself, he's like, wow, don't you think it's crazy that like when you're in traffic and you see other people, like those people exist and they have lives? That's so crazy. He just goes on about like, oh yeah, there's people in the elevator, those people have lives. That's so
I'll give you
crazy.
that though. I've actually thought about that, so I'll give
Yeah,
him
but
that.
like, but that's all he's talking about in therapy, instead of like, yeah, I have a lot of resentment issues,
And
instead of
my
talking
dad.
about that. So yeah, but that's a very good point. I do think about that too, especially the people who decide to stare at me at the stoplights.
Those jerks. But did you maybe I'm never gonna watch this movie. I'm never gonna watch it because
No,
I
you
don't.
should. You should watch all of them.
I feel like I try to judge a movie a lot by its poster, because I'm just like, if this is what you're putting out for the visual of some, because I feel like the poster has to get someone interested to see the trailer, and the trailer has to get someone interested to see the movie. But God, this poster just looks terrible, and it says he only has 1,000 words left to discover what matters most. Eddie Murphy and 1,000 words, make them count. How many fucking words can you put on or how many fucking words can you put on a Jesus Christ.
Wait.
It's just a lot to say on a movie poster.
I was gonna say, because the one that I saw first was the poster with him doing this and like the
That's
collage in the background,
Yeah.
and it just says Eddie Murphy 1,000 words. But now I'm looking at the very mouthful one.
Yeah, it says so much on it, which is the same poster, but I just think it has words added to it. So that sounds terrible. Eddie Murphy,
Yeah.
but that dude making millions for every movie he does, so props to him, I guess. I'm not gonna be watching it, but 1,000 words, a box office flop, and a movie that I will not be checking out. Well, what does it have on Rotten Tomatoes? A 20-something% we said?
No, a 0.
0%.
Oh wait, this one has a
There's
0?
there's another poster with him with duct tape on his mouth, and on top of the duct tape it says 1,000 words, and you can tell that the tape was photoshopped over his mouth instead of them using real tape.
So they're like, with every poster, he has to be covering his mouth somehow. But yeah, wow, an approval
Because
rating of
there's a
0%.
scene where he does cover he like tapes his mouth shut to stop talking, because I guess he has no control over his motor functions.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. That sounds terrible. Glad that I'm not going to be watching that. But now I just landed myself on a page with Rotten Tomatoes all 0% movies, list of films with 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm trying to see if there's anything in here that I've heard about. There's a lot of movies I haven't even heard about on here, to be fair. Yeah. National Lampoon's Gold Diggers. I'm trying to see if what we've mentioned that's on here. Okay, there we go. There's our 1,000 words, whatever. What other movies we got to talk about? Is there any more? Gotti, 1,000 words. Hit me.
Yeah, and talking about the posters, one other thing I'll add about 1,000 words is it's interesting how we were just dissecting the posters and how you were saying how there were so many words on it for a movie that's literally about someone not being able to say more than 1,000 words.
Sure,
They
a lot
sure
of
did
words
try
put
to
on a
put a lot of
poster.
words on the poster, and it's probably just to distract us.
For, like, just keep if they keep reading it and they'll Eddie Murphy, they'll check out the movie, but no, terrible stuff. Apparently, I haven't seen it. I don't know.
Inea, did you check out any others?
It was the one that I told you about. My Dead Boyfriend.
Oh,
Yes, I want to know what this is about.
It got a 0%, and it makes a lot of sense. Definitely it was definition of all over the place, and it tried so hard to be like edgy at times, where it was just try hard. So basically, it's about this woman who basically going nowhere in life. Sorry to say, but like she stays with just she's she works temp jobs all the time. She only like dates losers, people who she thinks that are just sucky guys. So she's dating this guy who she thinks is a loser, and then he dies. She thinks he dies in front of the TV, just watching
what a
TV, doing nothing. So she's just like, "Damn, that's crazy." He's my boyfriend. He's dead, and she's so nonchalant about it. So like the police like think that she did it, so they're questioning her. Like, yeah, so like, huh, you're late to work today, huh? That's crazy. Tell us more about that. Where do you work? But they kind of brush that off. That's just another joke. So she's just going throughout the movie like, yeah, my boyfriend died, haha. But she later on realizes that his life was far more interesting than like she could ever imagine. So I guess like she doesn't really know how old this man is. So he learns that she learns that he's an artist, he's a poet. He dated this old stripper. He who like his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend who he married her friend is in a band now. So like, she accidentally joins this band with them, just trying to just meet these people, and it's all over the place. And like later, like in the end of the movie, she learns that he dies doing the nasty with her best friend.
woo! What a way to
Oh,
go!
So yeah, she like freaks out and puts his pants back on and puts him in front of the TV. And then she's like, oh, maybe if I like turn the TV on and put the remote in his hand and like, turn on some music, it can like look like he like had like a very overstimulated experience and died.
Not naturally, it's a common way to go. But sounds terrible. And by the way, I did find out because I'm as we're talking, I'm looking at other movies, by the way, and I guess that John Travolta was also in Look Who's Talking Now, which gets a 0% as well. But back to this terrible movie about dead lovers and naked TV viewing stuff, whatever.
It's so there are like these weird scenes where like there's like animation like merged with like her. So like she'll just be in the elevator and then like there'll be like weird like 2D people like just in the shot for just no reason. It's just very off-putting. The movie again very all over the place. It's easy to follow, but if you aren't paying attention you will get lost because there's a lot happening, a whole lot of nothing happening.
Hmm. And I guess that's when a movie's bad already. That's what even makes it worse is like when it's just hard to follow. Like that can just make it bad to where you don't want to watch it. Like something like Master of Disguise. I know what's happening the whole time and it's fun to watch because it's stupid. But if there's a bad movie that you can't even follow, that's where it gets bad. What are you looking at? Is there a ghost behind you or something? As you're just looking behind you, Inea? Okay. I'm assuming it was your dog. But Yeah, and I think that'll make a bad movie go from fun and funny and enjoyable to just like, what the hell was even going on here?
It was enjoyable, but it was confusing.
Yeah.
And again, it's on Tubi, so you know that it's just
Oh, this one's on Tubi.
yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say 3 of the however many movies I watched were on Tubi.
So Tubi's the
Gotti,
place for some bad movies.
yeah, most definitely. Like they movies that I would not be surprised if you told me the budget was $20.
Damn. It's like my budget when I make short films.
But like if you tried to do special effects with absolutely no knowledge on how to do special effects outside of overlaying the green screen. Yeah, it was my mom likes to watch movies on Tubi for fun, and just when I walk into the room and just see like scenes out of context, they are so I don't know what's happening. She hates them so much, but yet she keeps watching them. So yeah, I would recommend watching it if you have absolutely nothing to do and just want to watch some stupid stuff. But I know you're
watch,
never gonna watch it. So
yeah, I'll watch it after I check out Succession. So
I know you
woo.
will.
What else we
We'll
got on
talk
the
about it
list?
later.
Anything else?
I think that was the last movie I wanted to talk about.
I think my list is all done actually.
Woo!
You got any more, Nick?
Any
No.
honorable mentions?
There was what did I get? Because I got Master of Disguise. Goaty was one I want to talk about as well, and then we touched on Mac and Me, and no, I think I covered a lot of my favorite terrible movies. The Room, obviously, I mentioned that one as well. So I think I'm good. I think I got it all covered.
Sweet.
Great.
Woo!
So I guess that wraps up this lovely episode of Spoilers Only.
Oh yeah.
Would you be willing to check out any of the movies we suggested before you watch Succession?
Okay, if I was gonna say first off, I need to check out Succession. I feel like one of the ones I want to watch is Standing Ovation, just because now that I know it was the same writer and director of Mac and Me, which is ridiculous that both of those got brought up.
Again,
you have to watch it.
The B plot of the movie is just so.
If there's like
it greatly juxtaposes the main plot of the movie of just girls wanting to sing and dance.
And if there's an underlying gangster tone that they tried to make cool or like subtle or funny, I'm so about that. So I'm gonna check that out and just
Another
see
thing that character does say is she straight up says like, "Oh, if you don't do this, like you'll be swimming with the fishes."
Yep.
You're like 13. You're 13.
Good old Joey.
She living that hard lifestyle. But I'll see if I check out that one.
So yeah,
and you guys should watch The Room.
I will.
Yeah.
Followed by The Disaster Artist, if you didn't see that, the James Franco movie, because it's fun to see them paired together, because the James Franco one is the actual story of the making of The Room. So check them out.
So yeah, I guess that wraps up our wonderful discussion of the best movies of all time.
The
best movies, Oscar award-winning performances. Like, please give them the props, man. Please love them. Anyway, any last words, Nick, before we
Not for me. No last words for me. I look forward to checking out some bad movies, but more importantly, good stuff like Succession and apparently Euphoria, which we haven't really mentioned much, but I hear that's incredible. But I'm glad we could all talk about some bad movies and talk about some that we've all seen, like Mac and Me. And I hope that I hope not too many bad movies come into our lives in the future, because I hate bad movies. But you guys, for now, should watch Murderville on Netflix. I think you'll really get a kick out of it.
I'm going to start it tonight. I'm really excited.
It's only 6 episodes. I watched the whole thing in like one sitting because I was like, oh, well, there we go. So it's a fun plot. Check it out.
But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with us today, Nick. It's always a party when you're on with us, and this was so exciting. And
gotta get Tommy on.
I feel like he did this on purpose this time.
Tommy's been out of town. He's out with Katie LeClaire filming some stuff until Tuesday. But whatever, we'll get him on here sometime.
All right, sounds
gotta get the
good.
gang on here.
Thanks for having me, though. Always happy to be on. You guys can literally be like, "Oh, you want to come on this week, that week?" I'm like, "Yeah, count me in." With Tommy, it'll be extra fun. But for now, I'm glad we could talk about some terrible box office bombs and stupid movies because they're all fun, I guess.
Definitely.
Yes.
And thanks to everyone out there listening. You can follow us on Twitter at SpoilersOnlyDuh for some fun content. You can check us out now. We are now available to stream on TuneIn, which is very exciting. And we have a linktree on our Twitter, so you can check out all our links for iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, and now TuneIn. But yeah, any final words, Inea, to close us out?
You know my thing. Follow us on Twitter for a lot of dumb things I like to say. That's it.
Beautiful words.
Well, thank you guys so much again for listening, and this has been Spoilers Only.